These are the things that I did that have made it possible, because now I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, homeschooling mom of 2 kids, with my husband, and I think as organic as it can get. These things that I'm going to share are like tried, true, and like I'm living it. So it's quiet time and I'm like relaxed and reading, and normally I try to take like a 30-minute nap during quiet time, but my mind was just like going with thoughts. So anyways, really quickly, my name's Ryder. I'm a homeschool mom with 2 kiddos, 5-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. And so I have been wanting to talk about affording homeschooling. Take notes, get comfortable, get a snack, be excited and feel inspired. So where do we start? Let's start in 2020, when all the things were going on with like all the staying home, right? So in 2020, our son was right at 15 months, because at 15 months is when we were literally in labor with our daughter. And so this was like in the spring of 2020. Fast forward like from there, a couple of months, of course, now we are the parents of 2 small kids. And I think around that time, and maybe a little bit before, like the idea of like being home with my kids and an intentional mom, and like just really present. And I'm not saying that to say that like if you don't homeschool your kids or think about those things, you don't want to be an intentional mother, because there's so many ways to be an intentional mother. But I mean that to say, in the way that I wanted to show up, I wanted to be like more present with my kids. And so like the idea came around, and I don't know, because I didn't know anybody specifically that like comes to mind that was like homeschooling their kids, or even a stay-at-home mom, honestly. It's just something that I think I just felt in my spirit. And so anyways, so I have a background as a registered nurse, and so I had a pretty flexible schedule, you know, like because the standard like floor nurse, bedside nurse schedule is are the 3 shifts in a 7-day or 7-day work week or whatever. And so it seems on the surface like, okay, I'm only working 3 days, I'm gonna have 4 of those off, which you do, but when they like rotate, you ended up maybe, or at least for me, I wasn't ever just like off for 4 days, like working 3 and off for 4. And then if you are like working 3, like you're like only working that's 12 hours. You're not like seeing your kids really, interaction time. And so I think that was all starting to weigh on me. And then we were like having another baby, and then had another baby. And so the ideas of like how I wanted to show up in my family's life as a wife and as a mom I started to think about it. And so I don't exactly know. I do remember a time where I talked to this lady, and I think I was just talking about like regular silly kid stuff. Like my son was getting into the toddler age, and he was doing all the things and all like the crayons on the wall and all the little things. And we were like just kind of having back and forth conversation. And she told me, I think she had like maybe at least 5 kids, had homeschooled them all. She looked really good. And that stuck with me. It was just a regular random conversation that I didn't have an agenda on, like, how did you homeschool your kids or da-da-da. It was just something that kind of stuck in my spirit. And I was like, maybe the ideas that I already had, and then having this experience, and maybe I think like a few others sprinkled throughout there, was like, okay, maybe this is like something I want to do. But let me talk about affording homeschooling, and then like affording being a stay-at-home mom and all those things. So it was 2020. Okay, I think that's kind of still where we are, spring, summer of 2020. And at that point, we have like a mortgage. I have my like dream car, large SUV, captain seats, all the things, leather, screens, whatever. And like all the traditional bills, cell phone and all the things that go along with like, having a home and all that stuff, and all the other things we were enjoying in our life. But I knew I wanted to have a different lifestyle. No one sat down with me and was like, hey, if you want to do this, this is what you need to do. Or, this is what our finances look like. This is how much we make. And this is what we afford. And this is, how we prioritize and budget and all that. No, like I didn't seek that. And then I didn't ever see that. So these are the things that I did that have made it possible, because now I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, homeschooling mom of 2 kids, with my husband. And I don't come from a background, like a family background of like affording me the opportunity to do that. Everything we had, like we paid for, or we paid for. So yeah, it's like, I think as organic as it can get. these things that I'm going to share are like tried, true, and like I'm living it. So when that idea was birthed in me, I decided, okay, I'm going to sell my truck. Loved it. Like I said, Captain Seeds, leather, all the things. And Lord willing, everything comes back full circle. That's something I would still like to have, but I have like priorities, and this is more like than my truck used to be. So I was like, okay, I have a truck, and that note is preventing me in a large way of being able to like live the life I want to. So what I did from there is essentially you just look at your expenses, and my truck payment was one of my larger expenses. I got that off. Now what I ended up doing was I got this idea. I never remember, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And so I put my information in like Kelly Blue Book, I think it was, submitted it. And I just knew that if I don't act on what I'm feeling right now, and I let the daylight come or whatever, I'm gonna talk myself out of it. Or not even talk myself out of it, just like procrastinate. And then procrastination will lead to like inaction. So I did it. I submitted that information, and I didn't submit to sale. I think like, maybe I did submit to sale. I don't know. I just put it in there, put my mileage and all the things, and went to sleep. Woke up the next day, and then I had offers from there, or like it told me what my truck was worth, and I had a couple of offers. And from there, I was able to see, okay, and I just kind of worked with like information that I got, how much the offers were, and I ended up going to like 3 or 4 dealerships, seeing what they would offer me, and that, I think I ended up having to pay maybe like $8,000 or so to like totally get out of it. Of course, the dealership purchased it, and then I went with the dealership that would give me the most, so I would have to pay the least. And although that was a lot of money for me, we made it work. Like, I think I had that truck sold in probably, when I got the idea, it probably wasn't even 7 days, honestly. It might have been like less than 7 days. That idea to sell. Once I got free from that like opened up so much of my income. Okay, from there I did other things, like I looked at my phone bill. How much was I paying? How was I actually using my phone bill at the time? Was I only using it to talk and text? And so then I found plans that would be as affordable as possible and take care of the needs that I had. I did that. And so by doing that, because my cell phone bill wasn't ridiculous, but I think if you look at an average cell phone bill, they're a couple $100. And so to even save $100 plus the car note, now we're looking at like several $100s, which gets put back into our household. And when your monthly expenses are really low and you still have income, then that opens up so many opportunities. At that time, I was also reading a lot of Dave Ramsey books, and I really resonated with the first 3 steps. So that's what I focused on essentially. So that began my journey to be able to afford homeschooling. Of course, I talked about this openly with my husband and all of that, but I took responsibility for like what I wanted with a supportive family and made those things happen. And so what I'll say is it took some time, because now it's 2024. I am homeschooling our kids. We started officially homeschooling this fall. And then even before that, like I was homeschooling them probably, I think when he turned 4, and this year he'll turn 6. So at that point though, I'm trying to think. So 2020 is when I had our daughter. Our son was already born and like a year old. And then I'm trying to think what year it was when we did the truck thing, like when I thought about that and sold it and came up with the money. I want to say that was like 2021. Ended up being like in January or spring of 2021. So like after having my daughter and having both of our kids and like living the life, and honestly like going to work and cleaning bottles and breastfeeding, and I made our baby food from scratch and all of those things. I think that year of doing that made it to where I wanted to be home more. And then I also was able to see like, okay, this is a challenge. Like working so much, working full-time hours, plus being as intentional and as involved as I am and was at home, was like, okay, you can do this, but it was just really, really, really difficult to do full-time work and be like a full-time present mother. So I think as that year went on is what pushed me to get in, when we got into 2021, to like sell the truck and modify the phone bills, along with in that year, like you get sick, right? Like you have a cold or a headache and like you're not feeling that well. And these things might not have kept me from work before I had kids, because it's like, okay, you're sick, you go to work, you don't really feel that good, but when you come home, you can recover. But as a parent and a mother, like more specifically, because I'm speaking from my experience as a mom, you get sick, you don't feel that well, and you want to take a day off. Like you might need a sick day off or 2 or 3 days off, depending on like what your illness is. And I that's when I noticed like, oh, this is difficult, because standard it was like 8 sick days and maybe like 40 hours of vacation, and it's like, oh my God, I'm sick, okay, which might be like 1, 2, 3 days, whatever, then typically, or at least for us, maybe 1 or 2 of my kids, or both of us, or all 3 of us would be sick, and so it's just like, well, then I need this time for myself to like heal and feel better. I don't have the same recovery time because I do have children now. They're also sick. And I just wanted to be present to do that. And I knew like I wasn't doing anything wrong, like being home and calling in to work or whatever, but I felt so bad and so guilty for like not being, at work, but I'm literally sick. And then I'm sick caring after sick babies, and like, thank God this was just like common colds or flus or whatever, nothing like detrimental, but still they take so much out of you, fatigue and fevers and around the clock medications, and you're a new mother, and parent, and spouse at the same time. So you're like, all the things that are happening are so new. So even though now I can reflect on like, oh, that was a common cold, but in the moment you are sick for the first time as a parent, as a mother. And so then you're concerned about your babies, and like I said, I am a nurse, so you have different level of awarenesses with illnesses and all the things. So what I mean to say is, having 2 kids, they were close together, or they are close together, in that year after we had our daughter is when I noticed more of like the call or the urge in me to like want to be home with my babies, want to work in my home. And then it was the challenge of trying to be full-time at work and then full-time mom at home, plus knowing that like I don't feel good, I've only got these amount of days plus these days, and like I've got to make this work, and it's like, I don't know, all that together was just like, there's got to be a better way to do this, or another way to do this that works for like us. So those things are what like gave me the drive and determination and desire to want to figure out how to be a stay-at-home mom. And so what I'll say, like the takeaway from that is, even if it's not something like you witnessed, because I never witnessed a stay-at-home mom, didn't witness a homeschooling mother, it's just things that were like in my heart, and I talked about it with my husband, of course, and in support from our family ultimately, but it was like my desire that catapulted these choices. And so I found ways within our budget and my budget to decrease expenses, increase income, find out other ways to make income that were more flexible when it came to like my schedule and time. And so I believe it was 2021 that the expenses really came down, got rid of the truck note, decreased whatever other bills or expenses that I had. And then in 2021, I found other ways to maximize my income. And at this time, I can't remember how old our kids were. They might have been like 2 and 3 at this point. Maximize my income. So that really helped savings and getting, out of debt and all those things. And so after that, I ended up I think that's when my son was maybe like 3, they were like 3 and 4. So at that point, we weren't doing a full-on homeschool, but I was definitely getting a feel for it. I knew I wanted to homeschool, but I didn't want to do anything in my eyes that was like reckless, like just wait and say, oh, at this age, at this time is when we're going to start. I started when they were probably 3 and a half, just, making sure we were saying our ABCs and 1, 2, 3 just passively, not anything formal, just as we brushed our teeth, singing the ABC song or listening to educational songs, just getting that inner atmosphere and getting in the habit for myself. And then when our son turned 4 is when I started the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. It was like a soft introduction to curriculum for us. And I wanted to make sure, though I had these desires, that we did like a soft launch or a soft test of like what that would look like. How much time is that going to require of me, and how are we going to do that? I wasn't a full-time stay-at-home mom then. I was still practicing as a nurse, and I had even started some side hustles on the side myself, which gave me momentum to see, okay, what is this going to look like when, you know, he is at the age of where I want to be more intentional and more like structured. So throughout, over the last 4 years, it didn't go from like 2020, want to be a stay-at-home mom, want to be a homeschooling mom, and dropped everything, and that's what we did then. And I believe that no matter like whatever your family dynamic is like, the timeline may be different, but I'm just wanting to share my journey in hopes that it inspires someone else that maybe come from a similar economic or social economic status as I have, and like where I am, to where it's possible. You know, you do have to plan. I planned a lot. I wrote a lot of journals, you know, made a lot of little spreadsheets, calculated things constantly, which I think you'll naturally do if you want something. And so what I wanted to say is it didn't happen overnight. Now we're here, and now I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, and now I'm a full-time, like, you know, homeschooling mother. But I believe it took me about a year to get where I didn't need to do stuff full-time. And so with your job comes other things, you know, I looked at like, what is my career providing me income wise, health insurance wise, what else? Retirement wise, anything that my job was providing me, I began to then seek, before I made any kind of formal transition with my employment, I began to seek like, how can I facilitate these things for myself? You know, how do some people do it? And what's going to be the best fit for us? So that's kind of how I was able to do this. If this like helps, you know, let me know. And if there's any area that you need like specifics in, like leave a comment. You know, if you're like, okay, well, how did you make like a spreadsheet when it came to expenses and income, and how did you do this or that? You know, what did your schedule look like from like 2021 to 2023? Because like I said, I was working full-time, or not full-time. I think I was working full-time still in 2021 when we got rid of the truck. In 2022, I believe I think halfway through 2022, I was like full-time, and then went to probably more part-time hours. And then in 2023, still part-time hours, but significantly reduced part-time hours. So yeah, if there's any part of that to where you're like interested in, you know, leave it in the comments down below. And I also considered, even if it wasn't like I considered all options, because I knew it was something like being home and homeschooling my kids was something I really wanted to do. So I considered different avenues of work. Like I said, I started some side hustles and things like that to get that going. So if you're interested in like those topics on like money and expenses and all those things that also are really important when you decide to homeschool, not just the curriculum part, then leave a comment down below. Again, my name is Ryder, homeschooling our 2 kiddos here in Texas. It's been an exciting and amazing journey. Definitely some, you know, probably some like, what is it called? Like mindset shifts definitely had to take place, but I'm really grateful for the journey, and I don't mind sharing. I'm happy to share, you know, those details. And good luck to you in your homeschool. Good luck to you in your ideas, in your journey, and like stay encouraged in all areas, whether it be curriculum, your kids, your family, meal prepping, your finances. Stay encouraged, stay seeking, and that's the most important thing. Stay encouraged, stay seeking, and like the answer will come. Thank you so much for watching today's video. It's kind of like probably wasn't that like organized, but I wanted to kind of go over the gist of what it was, how I afforded homeschooling, and how I believe you can too, if that's something you're interested in, thinking about, already in, and trying to get new ways to get creative. So it wasn't super organized. It's just something that hit my spirit as I was, you know, doing quiet time. So anyways, rambling on. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.